Good morning, everybody. How are you, Mark?
Doing well, sir. Good morning.
Go ahead and get started. Really disappointed for Jaquarius Conley that he will not get to finish the season. That's three defensive backs that with Don Chapman and Day Hollins, and now Jaquarius out for the year. And we've had tough luck with our defensive backs, so we'll be thin going into Raleigh on Friday night, and Jay Bateman will talk to you about what he's looking at, what we're looking at moving in. Saturday's game, we got to play a lot of young players. Wofford did a good job of slowing the game down. I think it's the fastest game I've ever been involved with. They ran it 45 times, and I looked up and it's 2:30 or something. The game's about over. But they played hard. They did a good job. We got to play a lot of young guys. Our seniors got to win their senior day, which is really important. We became bowl eligible for the third straight time. And I think that's the first time that's happened since 2016. So proud of these guys. The seniors go from no bowl games for 2 years in a row before we got here to three straight. So that is great for them. Had very few penalties. We had three, and the last time we had three was Georgia State. So hopefully we just had one this morning in practice. So hopefully we're making progress in that area. Usually the better athletes you play, the more penalties you have because they're harder to block and harder to cover, and so that usually is the case. But we forced one turnover and didn't have any, and I thought that was good with young quarterbacks that were playing for the first time. The turnover that we got when Kyler McMichael intercepted it, we turned into points, so that was good. We only missed 5 tackles on defense. They had 5 explosive plays, and we only had 5 explosive plays, so we needed more explosive plays for one thing. Our players of the game, a real story on offense, British Brooks, guy that walks on, fights to get on a few special teams, then becomes special teams captain, and then becomes the offensive player of the game with his 89 yards. He actually averaged 12.7 yards per carry. So good for British, really proud of him, and he represents all those young guys that were overlooked and didn't have a chance, and he made it work for himself. And somebody better hire that young man because he's a special young guy, and we will miss him. Jeremiah Gimmel only played like 25 plays, but he had 5 tackles and 1 tackle for a loss, so he's the defensive player of the game. And then Grayson Atkins made 27 and 34-yard field goals and all of his extra points, so he was the special teams player of the game. Ty Chandler went over 1,000 yards this year, which is the goal that we had for him when we took him as our only grad transfer. He's sure been worth it. I'm really proud of him. He went over 3,000 yards for his career at Tennessee and here with total offense. So Ty will go down as one of the great backs in our history with 1,000 yards, and we've actually had 4 backs get over 1,000 yards the last 3 seasons. So good job running the ball, and that's important to us. Josh Downs leads the Power 5 with 90 receptions. He needs 6 to match Ryan Switzer's single-season record, which is one of our best ever. He ranks 3rd in Power 5, 2nd in the ACC in receiving yards with 1,198, and he is 24 yards away from Hakeem's single-season record. So that's pretty special too, because Hakeem was a great player for us. So really proud of the year that Josh has had and the way he keeps competing. Sam Howell, who looked great in practice today, is 69 yards away from being the 8th quarterback in ACC history to throw for 10,000 yards in only 3 years. So good for him, and what a great accomplishment for him moving forward. NC State's got a really good team. You got to give them a tremendous amount of credit. They've won 9 straight at home. They've got one of the best defenses in the country, and them and Clemson are the 2 best defensive teams in this league. They're playing hard. They're playing confident. They lost 2 starting linebackers and a free safety, and you can't even tell it. Their defensive coaches have done a tremendous job of coaching that defense. Offensively, they're averaging 33 points a game. They've only allowed 19 sacks, so the offensive line's done a tremendous job. Devin Leary has got savvy in the pocket. He's hard to sack, which really helps them. And he's got 31 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. So the guy's done a tremendous job of running their offense. Knight and Person are two of the best backs in the country. They can catch it out of the backfield. They can run. Knight is all great kick returner. He's returned kickoffs for a touchdown, and Person's caught 27 balls out of the backfield. So they're doing that. And they may have the 3 best as a group receivers in the country. They're tall. They've done a great job of recruiting big, tall guys. So they got the big offensive line, the 2 great backs. They make you stop the run, and then they get one-on-one situations outside, and they've been winning. So Amezi, 6'3", 220, Carter, 6'3", 215, and Thomas, who is everywhere. He's got great hands and great ability to run routes. He can be in the slot or he can be outside. But they're really good in those areas. They've got 3 great tight ends. May have the best offensive lineman at left tackle in the country. He's a #1 draft choice and going to be a great player. So they're really, really good on offense with what they're doing. Defensively, it's been amazing that they've lost those key players that they lost, and they're still good. Tanner Engel is one of the best players in the country to watch. He is tough. He makes plays all over the field. He's savvy. He knows what to do on the football field. He can make a tackle in the backfield and cover the deep third. And he is a joy to watch. Drake Thomas has been the same. When they lost the older linebackers that were leaders, that were 2 of the best in the league, Drake Thomas stepped up, and he has played lights out. And then they got a great one in Durden from Florida State in the middle of that defense at 6'4", 310 as a grad transfer. And he's been hard to handle for a lot of people. So despite injuries, they've lined up and played well. Their kicking game's really good. This will be the 4th ranked team that we've played, 3 on the road out of the last 5. It's probably the hardest stretch of schedule I've had. I think one time at Texas we had a stretch like this when we were #1 in the country and got beat out at Tech with 3 seconds left. But you've got to give these guys credit. Like Pitt, like Wake, like Notre Dame, it's really, really a tough game for us and on the road. And for us to get where we want to go, we've got to start winning on the road. So disappointed in a few things Saturday. I didn't want Wofford to be able to keep the ball as much as they did, even though they're a lot better on offense than they were defense. Proud of the way our 2 young quarterbacks played. It really shows well for the future of our program because those 2 guys have got tremendous amounts of ability, and it was so good for them to get a full game. When the doctors and Sam decided not to play, it was really a blessing for us because Sam would have played some and taken some plays, and these young guys needed to have a normal game action, and I thought they did a great job. Really disappointed on 4th and 1. It was our 2nd team, but that's got to be a culture change. We got to get tougher. You can't get stopped on the goal line for 4th and 1. That's an alley fight. You got to get in the end zone. So even though it was second team guys have to play. They may be playing next year. So that was the most disappointing thing of the second half. Questions?
Thank you, Coach. We will begin with Ross Martin. Go ahead, Ross.
Hey, Coach. Coach Brown, just wondering kind of the motivation for the NC State game. Are you using the fact that y'all could knock the Wolfpack out of the Atlantic race? Are you using the fact that y'all could win the state championship by beating State and then also having beaten Duke and Wake Forest? Kind of wondering the different angles you're using for motivation this rivalry matchup.
Yeah, Ross, it's a good question. There's 106 of them. So each player kind of creates the edge on his own. And I always loved the rival games. I think it's just that's one of the things I love this weekend about college football, because the fans are so stirred up. The fans don't like each other. NC State fans will be great Friday night. That's you go to A&M. We didn't go to Oklahoma. We had that one in Dallas. But you You go to NC State and play, and their fan base is very rabid. They love their team. They're playing well, so that'll be fun. That'll be a great challenge for us. So more than anything else, I always talk to our team about getting better. You've been close on the road at Pitt. We should have won, and we didn't. And we've got to win that game at Pitt to end up being where we want to go. We had chances at Notre Dame in the fourth quarter, but we gave up some big plays and couldn't finish. So for us to get where we need to go, we've gone from awful to good. For us to get to great, we've got to win on the road against good teams. So my motivation for this team is, number one, it's a huge rival game for our university and our fans. So understand that both these universities and fan bases are passionate about this game, and they want to win. And it's bragging rights for a year, and that's very important to the people that are paying for your scholarship. Number two, let's get better. We're middle of the road. We had the expectations were higher than we are good, so we were here. You've gone to 3 great bowls. That's great. You can upgrade the type bowl you go to by winning this weekend. You can beat your rival by winning this weekend. And we need to get better as a program. So this is a huge program game for us to win on the road and get better at winning on the road. I think we're 14-5 at home. So that's we're making progress there. We're a lot better. And 2 of those games are number 1 and number 2 at home. So, but on the road, we've been in fights late and we haven't finished. So we got to finish.
Andrew Jones, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, do you like this game being at the end of the year? I know it's moved around a lot over time, but lately it's settled a little bit more as the last game.
You know, Andrew, I grew up here with Duke being the last game. So it's very different for me when I came back, and I guess everything's kind of different now. It was mid-season last year, early mid-season with COVID. I don't know. But my early years in coaching, I always knew Duke was the last game, and that was the way it was supposed to be. And then it changed. You know, this is the last time we'll play an FCS game before a state, which I can see why Larry did it. It's probably an advantage because most of our guys played less than 25 plays Saturday, so that will have them more fresh for Friday night. But it's harder for your crowd to be excited about it. It's not a game that's going to be publicized nationally. So we'll move that FCS game. In fact, I noticed we opened up with Florida A&M last year, and they're 9-2 and going to the first rounds of the playoffs. So it seems like every time we schedule somebody, they get really good. So, and then we go to Appalachian the second week, and then back to Georgia State the third week. So, but I do think in my life, it's been better to play those games early. And then I guess the administration at both schools would decide whether the last game, along with the ACC, would be State or Duke. I like the fact that around Thanksgiving we are playing a rival game.
You guys played Duke for the victory bell, but it's just bragging rights versus State. Would you like to see something incorporated into the rivalry where the winner gets something for a year like you guys do with Duke and the victory bell?
Yeah, I think it would be great. I had never thought about that, and you'd have to talk to obviously Boo Corrigan and Dave about it, but I think it would be great. This is a really important game for both teams, and it'll be a game that a lot of people will watch Friday night. It reminds me a whole lot of Texas and Texas A&M. I mean, that's the type energy that both fan bases have and the importance to winning this game for both schools.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go over to Aaron Beard.
Hey, Mack, I had a ACC-wide question I wanted to run by you. The league has been wide open. It's been a lot of fun to see some of the unpredictable things for a lot of people, but the league is also out of the playoff race for the first time since it's been created. I'm kind of curious, what's the feeling of, that balancing that? And like, is there any long-term gain this year to having the wide open nature while trading off the playoff bid for the perception of the league?
Aaron, I feel that all the teams are getting better in the league. This year you got some outliers at the top. Clemson's getting back near the top, but you've got teams like Pittsburgh that have a chance. They're already in, I guess, the Coastal, and then you've got Wake with a win this weekend that can be in the Coastal. And then I think the winner of the championship game goes to the Peach Bowl. But we need to get it back where the winner goes to the playoff. And that would be really, really important for us. But Clemson's going to stay strong. The rest of us need to keep stepping up. It's really interesting. There's a couple that have struggled. There's a whole lot of us that are in that 5 and 6 and 6 and 5 range, most of the league, and then you've got a couple at the top. I think what's got to happen is the ones in the middle have to step up, and then we've got to go back and fight. The Coastal's been so crazy, I think, forever. And it's just been a different team every year that jumps up. And Pitt's got an older team, a great team. I was able to watch their game with Virginia on Saturday afternoon, and they played really well. So Pat's done a really good job and got an older quarterback. So Dave continues to do a good job at Wake. They got a huge one this weekend as well. So it's fun to watch our league and watch teams compete. I still do think that it's very much like the NFL right now, that all of us are enough alike that we're still sitting here at 6 and 5, but did beat the team that will probably represent us in the Coastal or in the Atlantic, and had a great chance to beat the team that's representing us in the Coastal. So good for us that we have shown that progress late in the year. We're a much better team now than we were at the beginning of the year, but also you got to finish those and you got to win those games.
Thanks, Mac.
Thank you, Aaron.
Luciano, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, I hope we're doing well, and thanks for your time. What is it about road games that has made them so challenging for your team this season?
It's the same thing that road games make challenging for everybody. It's you got to learn to win on the at home first, and when you do that, a lot of people can't do that. But when you do that, that gives you a chance to have more confidence on the road. But obviously, you're traveling. You're staying in a different place. You're playing in a hostile environment where they're comfortable. I've always felt like you get fewer breaks with the officials on the road. If it's close, they're going to go with that fan base. And a lot of times you can't even hear. So playing on the road is much more difficult than playing at home. And the good teams win at home, the great teams win on the road. And we're a good team. We're not a great team yet, and we've got to learn to do that.
Okay, let's go to Michael Coe.
Hey, Coach. So it seems like a lot of times when these two teams get together, just weird, wacky stuff happens in the game. Do you think that's attributable to players from both teams just pressing so much because it is such an intense rivalry?
Yes, Michael. That's why this weekend is so much fun to watch. Because these games will be crazy this weekend. Because guys that grew up with these fan bases, they've understood this rivalry since they were really little. And they want those bragging rights for the rest of their life if they're going to live in this state or live near this state. And I said, people are going to come up to you 25 years from now and say, did you beat State? What was your record against State? And that's why this is so crazy. And you do have to be careful that they don't fight. Because that costs you the bowl game. So you got to keep your composure. And you got to be careful that you don't try too hard to win. You got to be good enough to win being who you are. And if you start trying to do things more than that, then it's going to hurt your team.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Adam Smith.
Mac, you're setting me up here with the 25-year reference. Wanted to ask, when you came back here for the second go around, there was the perception for Carolina against State. Well, I guess the reality, given the results on the field, that Carolina had fallen behind State. So, I mean, when you were making your blueprint of what you wanted to do, what you wanted to accomplish, what you needed to do, I mean, was NC State and catching them and beating them at the top of that to-do list?
Adam, my blueprint as a head coach has always been, you've got to be the best team in your own state. It's just like the away games and the home games. If you can't win in your own state, then you can't recruit in your own state. And until you can do that, then how can you go out of state to recruit? Or how can you expect to win out of your state? So that's always been that way. And I think my granddad and dad were high school coaches, and then one a principal and one a superintendent. So I was raised with sports, and I was raised around games, and forever. You got to win at home, and you got to beat your rival, and it starts with that. And if you can't do those two things, then you've got work to do before you can start thinking about doing other things. And that's the difference in good and great. And like I said, we went from awful to now we're good. And there's a huge step to get to the next step. And publicly, we were ahead of that step. But reality is we're not. We're a good team. And State has played better this year than we have. So we'll have our hands full on Friday night, but I'm looking forward to that challenge because that's what you do. You've got to take great challenges with really good, well-coached teams on the road. This one being a rival and a rabid fan base, and see where your team is, see where their culture is, see how they handle adversity. And we're starting to handle adversity better, especially on the road, but that's part of growing up, and we've got to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adam.
CL Brown, go ahead.
Hey, Mac. Given the way the conference expanded and everything from your first tenure in Chapel Hill, in what ways do you see this rivalry as being different with State, especially to being in separate divisions?
CL, I don't see it being any different, really, because it's the crossover game. If we weren't playing them, I think it'd be awful. In fact, that's why it's been harder for us to play Wake Forest the last 3 years, because they're really good. And that's not even a crossover game. It's an out-of-conference game, which is crazy. But I grew up with Wake, State, and Duke being rival games, being conference games, and being really important to this university. I don't like the fact that Texas and Texas A&M don't play anymore. And now they probably will, since Texas is going to the SEC. I don't like the fact that year to year that Colorado, Nebraska, and Nebraska and Oklahoma don't play anymore. So with all this realignment stuff, we took away some of the great games that all of us sat and watched, especially this weekend, as we grew up. And it was just part of our football culture and part of our history. And I really miss those games. So one of the things I've enjoyed so much coming back is competing with Duke, with Wake, and with State, because so many people have lost some of those traditional rivalries, and we've been able to keep them. So it makes me feel more like the ACC I was in 20-something years ago.
And I wanted to just double check on Sam. So is he back with first team reps today, or are there still any last minute hurdles he has to clear?
I'm not supposed to tell you, because Jeremy tells me and the trainers tell me I can't talk about players' injuries, but he looked really good this morning. I'll just say that. And he has never taken snaps with anybody except the first team since he's been here, after the first spring, to be fair.
Gotcha. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, CL.
Brett Freelander, go ahead.
Continuing on with the Sam Howell theme, as well as your two young quarterbacks played last week, how important is it to have him back and pretty close to 100% against this defense?
Brad, it's really important because he's our face, he's our guy, he's our leader. And I like the fact that the two young quarterbacks got to play, because if they had to go in the game for whatever reason, now at least they've got some experience. And Coach Longo had a game with them, so he can figure out what one did better, and if they go in, how we would have a game plan, how would it change with them in there. But Sam's tough. He's a competitor, and he would want to play in this game because he knows how important it is to his team, his university, and this state. So he'll be excited about Friday night.
All right, we'll close up this morning with Coach Brown with Gregory Hall.
Hey, Mack, I was just curious what you've seen from State offensively and defensively on film. I know it's only Monday, but just what does your scouting report on them look like so far?
Gregory, we've watched them all year. I mean, that's when you've got your rival games. Every time they're on, they have your interest. And I've been impressed with them. They've played hard every week. They seem to have gotten better as the year's gone on. When you see devastating injuries like they had on defense early in the year, you wonder how they're going to respond. They've got a really good culture because they're defensive coaches, and Dave had them step up, and they play hard. They're really, really physical, and they play hard. Offensively, like I said, they've got an experienced, big physical offensive line. They've got 3 tight ends that can play. Some are better at some things than others. They've got maybe the best trio of receivers in the country because they're all huge, and they can run and catch. And what they do is they with the 2 great backs, they make you bunch up to stop the run, and then they put you one-on-one with those great receivers in your corners outside, and we haven't done that very well. So there are a lot of matchup issues for us that we're going to have to fix this weekend. And then they've done a really good job with their kicking game. You're sitting there watching them return kickoffs against Wake Forest and running it back for a touchdown. So they're a well-coached, well-rounded, confident football team. Leary's playing so well. Like I said, he's hard to get on the ground. He's very accurate. So they don't have any areas that seem to be weaknesses from what I can tell by watching them throughout the year and really studying them Saturday afternoon and yesterday and today.
All right, Coach, thanks for a few minutes this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you all. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Oh, yes, I am sorry. I was supposed to do this at the first and I didn't do it. Eric Ebron, the great tight end that we had here, gave a significant gift to name the tight end room in his honor. And that goes along with Hakeem Nicks, Jeff Saturday, Denoris Searcy, and the group of people that gave the gift to honor Quincy Monk. So thank you, Eric. Congratulations on all your success, and thank you for giving back. It's always really, really special when a guy plays his guts out and does everything right for your program. He goes away and he wants to give back a significant gift just to help his program. So I should have said that first, but we appreciate Eric. We appreciate Hakeem Nicks, Jeff Saturday, Denoris Searcy, and the group that honored Quincy Monk as well. So thank you, Eric, and thank you, Jeremy, for reminding me.